Looks like he's ready.
I was going to write a note, but I'm not a coward. At least I don't want to be. Not anymore. Then again, this won't be the first time I've found my courage in a single malt.
Courage for what?
Saying goodbye. I'm leaving, Bruce. It's time I went in search of better pastures.
You just need rest, Alfred. Why don't you take a long vacation? Like we talked about. Someplace in the sun, and on the other side of the world from Gotham.
I rather think this vacation will be permanent.
But why?
Forever?
This war of ours is not what it was when we started. I no longer have the stomach for it. It's not sustainable.
That's why we need it.
At least not for me. I know what you're thinking, but please, hear me out. Our mission used to be so clear. Catch the criminals, lock them up. But nothing is clear anymore. At least not to me. Now everything has become so gray.
Gray? Talk to me, Alfred.
We used John Doe, exploited his friendship to get you into the pact.
That's not what happened.
We took advantage of someone you met in an asylum, for God's sake. Someone clearly challenged with a proven tendency to violence. If I knew then what I know now, I'd never have let you go through with it. You empowered John Doe, kept him close when you should have put him away, inspired him to become something far more dangerous than he ever was.
What's your point?
Sometimes it's as if Batman creates the evil he means to destroy. For all our good intentions, I fear we only make things worse. A dreadful thought, I know, but one that keeps me awake at night.
Oh, please. There were plenty of criminals around before Batman showed up. I put most of them in jail.
Two-Face, Cobblepot, Lady Arkham, Joker, all they have in common is you. Anyone who comes into contact with us suffers. Lucius is gone. Tiffany has blood on her hands. I foolishly thought bringing her in might make things better. As if her enthusiasm might remind us how things were in the beginning. The lives we touch are touched by pain. Friends, colleagues, innocents. No one is spared.
That's a price I'm willing to pay. In war, there are always casualties. But it doesn't mean you give up the fight.
I have served in my share of wars, Bruce. More even than you. There are some fights you cannot win. One thing is for certain, my tremors are gone.
That's great news, Al.
They stopped the minute I made the decision to go. I thought it was the kidnapping with Lady Arkham that caused them. Some kind of residual trauma. But I had it wrong. This sense of powerlessness I've been feeling, it came from something I saw in you. The tremors, the fainting spells, all of it.
What?
Do you really think I'm
good?
That bad?
No, I'm sorry, Bruce. That's not what I meant at all. Let me explain. Your father was driven by an obsession, by a need to control. He rushed headlong into the darkness, thinking himself invincible, oblivious to the cost. Just like you.
Not like me. I chased that darkness away.
And yet, history is repeating itself. I'm more certain of that with every passing day.
Okay, maybe I am more like my father than I want to admit, but our paths are different.
Can't you see? The paths may diverge, but they end in the same place. Face down in an alley, shot in the dark by criminals in some godforsaken corner of Gotham. I won't be witness to that. I won't bury you, too. I stood by and did nothing while Thomas destroyed himself, along with everything he loved. I enabled him, like I've been enabling you. Realizing this, I've never felt so helpless. I wanted things to be different for you, my boy. You deserved a better life than the one I gave you. I've failed you. And for that, I'm sorry.
You did the best you could, Al. In a single night, the family was shattered, and you were left to pick up the pieces.
I may have picked them up, but I did a poor job sticking them back together. Well, I don't want to miss my flight. There's always traffic around the airport. You don't have to do it, Bruce. There are other ways of doing good in the world. But you pour everything into your bloody crusade, and I know you too well to hope you'll ever change.
You're right, Al. It's who I am. I will always be Batman. And that will never change.
I know. Rubbish goes out on Tuesday, and there's lasagna in the freezer. I'm sure you'll manage.
What? That was the end? Usually, okay, so I know that you guys can't see the things I'm getting, but the little notifications, I'm getting trophies on every time a bit of the episode is complete. So usually there's 6, there was only 5 in this one.
Visitor for John Doe.
Bruce!
I feel like nothing would have made him happier than that. Oh, that was part 6 of the story. Seeing John is so heartbreaking. But would John whatever. What John made me realize is that there's flaws to Batman. So I feel like if I stayed as Batman, those flaws would have been fixed. Because honestly, I thought I did everything perfect with John. I didn't interrogate anybody. I never resorted to violence. He was like my top priority. I don't know what the fuck happened with Harley. I heard there's a good ending with Harley, but this game's so old, I don't know. I feel like I could blame Harley for this. I just feel like if John didn't become a hero so fast, he would have been able to control himself. But he was right about me with Waller, that Waller is a super criminal. She's just within the law. And the law isn't good. Law is justice and fairness, but fairness is neutral. Good is positive, bad is negative. So seeing John have me go from I mean seeing John I mean John watching me go from righteous good to lawful neutral. I don't know how to say it. Chaotic good or lawful good, because I'm lawful good. He's chaotic good. Lawful good to almost neutral, just flat out neutral, must have made him, that job for him must have been insane to watch a hero negotiate with a super criminal. So John really had um, righteousness, a righteous ideal when he became a superhero, and Batman didn't. But he had a longer time to think about it. So when I was when Batman started doing this, he at first it was for vengeance and justice, but then once he became a hero, it was for good, like what his parents should have done, like a philanthropist or an equalizer. And he worked with the law because he understood that the law is fairness, and you can't put somebody in jail without kidnapping them, like by yourself. Like if okay, so I'm gonna paint a picture. If Batman took vengeance and justice into his own hands, he would have to make a court system. He would have to make a jury system. He would have to create a prison holdings. He would have to create his own punishments and laws and offenses, and he doesn't have any of that. So the only way for him to truly take justice in his own hands without killing, he would either have to just beat them up and leave them there, and hopefully somebody finds them, which could either be them escaping or them getting arrested, or he could work with the law and arrest them. He needs the law to do good. So for Batman, who was lawful good, to negotiate with a Waller who was lawful evil, would be like to John, who is chaotic good or true good. To it was watching like Batman become like a villain who compromises with villains, and then that spun him out of control because he needed me to be an ideal of justice, or not justice, of heroism. And when he lost faith in my heroism, he 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 lost himself. He lost everything. He went crazy. He kidnapped Waller. He tried to bring Waller to justice, but he was stopped, and then he broke. And he killed 3 people violently. He tried to kill me and Tiffany. He would have killed Waller. And once he's killed me, he will kill everyone, because if I'm his best friend and the person he loves most in the world, the only person in his life at that point that he doesn't hate or just not know, he would have had no reason to just not kill everyone, or everyone he just didn't like. There's so many rude people, or some people who have bad days, and then they be rude for like a second. You can't call them. You don't control their lives. And I really felt like I did the right thing the whole time for him, but in the end, it was Batman being manipulated is something John doesn't understand. John doesn't understand that Bruce Wayne needs to be held as the secret identity of Batman, or that Catwoman's life um, could be used to get revenge on Waller later on. But no. And at the end there was no Catwoman. I don't know where our relationship stands. I'm alone too. Um but I feel like leaving Alfred was not the right thing to do, but the most logical thing after everything. Like I felt like if Alfred proved to me that Batman was evil, that Batman was causing criminals and causing chaos, I would have left. But the thing about people like John is that John would have found people like Harley, and then there would be multiple Jokers. So I feel like Batman needs to exist to bring out and then suppress criminals or crazies or super criminals, whatever. I feel like if I left Gotham forever, apparently, the next person would have had everything. And not only that, but Tiffany already crossed the line with killing. I just knew that her being, I'm not sure if she's a teenager. She talked about school or something, orientation. She's probably like 18 or like 20, like going to college. It didn't sound like she was in high school classes. I feel like at that point, when you have a family with no with siblings, and uh, only one parent dies, and watching the chaos destroy your family instead of your family being the only thing that's destroyed, I feel like that could cause more of a chaos within her. And she had the power to kill very quickly, so she would have. Like there was this one version of Batman when the dude who killed Batman's parents um, dropped the gun while he was picking up the cash and the jewelry his mother had, and then Batman grabbed the gun and shot him. And then instead of Batman never using guns, Batman prioritizes the use of guns for his equipment. So he kind of becomes like the Punisher, something like that. And yeah, it's it seems like something that could happen. And in a lot of versions that show Batman as a kid, he wants to face the person who killed his parents, but he's a kid and he's growing and he's dealing with his trauma at the same time. So by the time he finally gets to meet the person who killed his parents, he's either dealt with his trauma or understood his ideals. And yeah, I think Batman's my favorite superhero because of how real it could get. Because these are all regular people. I mean, that virus thing probably was the most supernatural thing. Obviously, Venom is a drug, but who there's performance enhancing drugs in real life. They're just not that crazy. Well, some of them might be. I don't fucking know. And then Harley. Um, I don't know about any famous female criminals, but I wouldn't doubt if one could exist. I really don't know any female criminals, like, ever. They're either like queens or like pharaohs or something like that. They're usually not just things. Okay, so let me read this. I tried with John, but he slipped away from me. His anger, his sense of what's right, got the best of him, and he kidnapped Waller and tried to force a confession out of her. I think he knew that would draw us back together, although I didn't think it ended the way he intended. We fought, he lost. Now Arkham is all that's left for him. He's returned to the beginning, which is the worst punishment I could imagine for John. I feel like if I keep visiting him, maybe he'll be able to come back, just not as a hero, not with any power. I felt like him having no power to him having almost equal power to Batman in terms of on-hand equipment like explosives and batarangs and a grapple gun. I feel like that much power with all this chaos. Like he dropped in the middle of like the apex of all this confusion. Like Batman started from the very beginning and he was able to piece and he had to make decisions and he had to you know compromise and negotiate and risk. And then John becomes a superhero and drops right in the middle of it, and then he becomes like the only hero that hasn't been manipulated or you know killed. I didn't want to say that about Tiffany, but like yeah, Tiffany killed, Catwoman stole, she can't be a hero, Jim got demoted, um Waller's corrupt as shit, Agent Avesta, oh shit, that scared me. Agent Avesta, um it could only have come from Ace. Okay. Agent Avesta um betrayed Waller and now is on like a list. So she couldn't be much use anymore. And then Joker came in and saw how fucked up everything was. And he understood that I don't think he understood this, but I feel like it's logical to assume that if Waller got arrested, she would just find a way out. Or if Harley or Bane got arrested, they would have just broken out somehow. Um, you know, that nothing was going to change unless people were killed, which might be right, but there's a thing I like to think about when it comes to doing right or wrong, and I say that the world can only run on one function. And if you survive off of crime, if you ran the world will crumble because you cannot commit crime if there is no order. So the world needs order before crime could exist, but crime cannot only exist without order. And I'm not saying chaos, I mean crime, I mean stealing, I mean killing, I mean hurting and abusing. All those things have limits, but order is limitless. So let's say I created an organization that stole from the rich, and then we stole from people who made things and stuff. I don't know. Okay. We started stealing like food to survive. We did not make that food. So if we keep stealing it, there's gonna be no more food. So we need people to make it. And if we're not making it, then the people who are making it are gonna either run out because nothing's getting bought, or they're gonna just quit or die, whatever. It's limited. But for us to maintain a constant supply of the things we are stealing from, we need to create jobs that have them. So we would be stealing from ourselves. So when Bane said that the world is twisted, don't try to fight it. It's better to thrive in it than to fight it. That's wrong. Because it's easier to thrive in it and it might be the only way you can live, but if that happens too many times and you have too many people doing that, the world would collapse on itself because that the crime is a parasitic act to your own way of life. And criminals aren't like outlaws that live by themselves and on their own terms and shit like that. They live because people allowed them to be able to be criminals. What do you think would happen if society didn't exist? Nothing would happen. There would be no crime because nothing would be able to be stolen. There would just be people, animals. There's no crime in the animal kingdom. There is stealing, but that's that's how it works. That's fair. That's fair game. But when you create a society that's been built by generations beforehand, you're stealing from what people built before your time, and you are affecting people ahead of your time, and you're hypocritically using humans for yourself. That's hypocrisy. It's just wrong. It's wrong to be a criminal, and there's no way to justify being a criminal. I understand it, but it's not justified. And I feel like Batman has a very good grasp on this idea that you cannot run the world on crime. And if you allow crime, the world will collapse on itself. So the only way for the world to exist is to create order and punish crime, but also understand it so we don't overextend order and then ruin what anything's supposed to be. Because I don't know, I'm losing a little bit of my punch. But too much order, there's no freedom. Too much freedom, there's no order. But too much crime, then there's nothing. And too much order, then there's also nothing. It's just nothing. There's no choice. Life isn't life without choice. Anyway, I think I'm about done here. I actually backed out when I like it looked like Batman was the one talking. But I feel like this ideology cannot be represented in real life as simply. I still feel like killing is wrong and some people deserve to be killed. But if you have a choice, it should always be to not kill. Like if people are above the law or people are in war or well, war doesn't have to happen either, but you understand what I mean. Like I understand war. I mean, I don't understand it, but I understand that war must exist. And when it does, people have to die, but it's still not good. And like when it comes to life or death situations, then killing is blurred because if you don't have a choice to kill them, then sure. Like I've heard stories about people when they shot once and they thought they weren't gonna kill them, but they killed them. Or in street fights where the head hit the ground really wrong and it like killed them. Or life or death scrambles with guns. This is another reason why I don't like fucking guns, because there's no control with a gun. It's just a fucking shot at full power every single time. You could control a knife better than you could control a gun. And I've heard about life or death scrambles like that when they didn't mean to kill them, but they ended up killing. And it's blurred then, but it's still wrong. But when it comes to having power over somebody's life, it doesn't give you the authority or the right to kill. But when you have to live, it's, I don't want to say justified. It's reconciled. So, I guess this is it. I really like this game. I want to play it again, but it's really long. and a lot of the things are like equal almost. I'm just so interested in the Joker. And there's a good ending with Harley Quinn, but I have to do that again. And I probably won't do it immediately because I have other games to play. But yeah, for now, this is the end. Thank you for watching. I hope you understand and enjoy. Um, yeah. Goodbye.